So many people, when they think about prepping, they think food, storage, growing their own crops, being self sufficient, and so forth. But there's one prepping thing that many people forget about, or it's difficult for them to do. It's prepping for death or the family emergency when you can no longer do things yourself. Let's discuss further. Many of you might not know, but I am actually a licensed attorney. I specialize in estate planning, doing wills, trusts, power of attorneys. And there's a lot of people that talking about the subject is difficult, and every state is slightly different. A lot of people don't prepare for, well, the inevitable time that you're going to die, or they don't prepare for an emergency when your body or even your mind, you're still alive, but you can't get out and do things yourself, whether it's physically or mentally, be it dementia or Alzheimer's. And those that do think about prepping and stuff, a lot of people will automatically assume that, oh, a trust is the answer. And trusts are great in certain occasions, but most people don't need them. I normally recommend a person have three very important documents, and we'll go over a little discussion of those three documents in this video. So most people, they only need a basic will. Even though a lot of people think, oh, a trust is the answer. Trust is, it makes me more money when I do one, and a lot of attorneys will push them, but the average person doesn't need a trust. A basic will cover basically everything they need when they die, if it's done well. Now, I know what a lot of people are thinking, oh no, probate, the will has to be probated, and it's going to take forever, and all this work, and that's not necessarily the case. If the will is done well, it's mainly just a hurry up and wait. You have to allow a certain amount of time for creditors to, like, if a credit card company, like if I died right now, credit card companies that I might have had a card for have to have time to send their bills to my spouse, basically the one that's surviving and handling my estate, so that they can pay those actually incurred debts. Property has to be transferred, oftentimes if you're the last one surviving. So it's just more of a time thing. These certain events have to have time to occur. So it's not necessarily a whole lot of work. It's just hurry up and wait. You get your little part done, and then you've just got to wait for the bills to come in. I normally give every one of my clients what I call a peace of mind planner. Now, what that is it's a book, and it's a pain to fill out. But I encourage my clients to keep it with their will, and it goes through where that client's specific assets are. Your family might know that you have life insurance policy, but they might not know what company it's in. They know you might have a credit card or two, but is it a Visa? Is it a MasterCard? How do I get in touch with them? It's putting all that information into one specific location so that whoever's going to be handling your estate or your will has all that information. So they can contact those companies immediately, and it takes their workload off tremendously, or having to wait for several months for a bill to come in that they have to pay. You know, they can get all that done and then just sit back and wait for the time to go and then go and do the next part. The other uh, important document that I encourage everyone to have is a springing, durable financial power of attorney. And what that is it's for when you're still alive. And it's a document I hope is never used, but if an event occurs, such as you get Alzheimer's or you get dementia, where you're mentally not able to handle your financial affairs or to continue doing things like that, you're selecting who you trust to handle your financial affairs instead of having a judge appoint a conservator over you who you might not trust or you would never have selected in the first place. You know, you're selecting who you trust and how much power you want them to have. And it can be specifically tailored to you individually. So that if you get dementia or Alzheimer's, you're saying, I trust my younger daughter, not my oldest son, who is a gambler or something like that, to handle my financial affairs and be able to take care of me while I'm still alive. The last document is a medical power of attorney or advanced care directive. And you're selecting who you trust and who you want to make medical decisions, along with any specific request or things that you don't want to happen. Like maybe you don't want to be on life support. Maybe you do, you know. But you're selecting who you trust to make medical decisions if you're incapacitated and you can't make them for yourself. Now, a lot of people think, well, I'm in my 20s or 30s. I don't need a will or any of those documents. You never know when a tragedy might occur. And especially if you have kids. If you have minor children, you definitely want to have a will. Because not only can you provide for and plan for them if something happened to you, then you're also selecting who you trust to take care of your children. So there's no infighting or having a judge select who will take care of your children that you definitely don't want to take care of. So when it comes to trusts have their place, but even if I was drafting a trust, I would always draft a pour over will. Because a trust is useless unless you put all your property into that trust. Because if you just bought a new car and you didn't put it in the trust, that's still going to have to be probated. That's why a lot of people think falsely that trusts avoid probate. It can, but don't get caught up in that. I encourage you to look at your situation. Talk to an attorney. You know, discuss everything openly. And if that attorney just wants you to fill out a bunch of paperwork and doesn't really talk to you very much, find a new attorney.